I think we might need to update those Derby County limbs, mightn't we, on next season's 4-0 Sunday Live countdown. Hello there, good evening, welcome along. We're back. It's just gone 7 o'clock, and would you believe it, we're back for another 4-0 Sunday Live. It's been a little bit of a hiatus, a brief pause in proceedings, but we're back nonetheless with a stellar cast and crew this evening. Welcome to Gaz all the way from Malta, the champion of England. Can I just say, Gaz from Malta, he's here joining us. I'm sure we'll get a chance to get into that later on. Jakey boy, my close friend, colleague on the T-Lop, and everyone's favourite Lincoln fans here too with a brand new microphone. So welcome to you, mate. Hope you're all good. And Barney's here too, and he's got a David Beckham shirt.
Well, you know my MLS. Am I on mute? I'm not.
No, you're fine. You're fine.
You know my obsession with MLS and any MLS UK link. So this is a new eBay purchase for my football corner.
I just saw a face you pulled then. Is it because I went and Barney's here too, as I sort of dressed the other two up?
I didn't get any kind of no special link, not like Farehams Best Phone Shop Manager or anything like that. I think, it's fine.
Well, Pompey's best designated driver for Tuesday night, put it that way. There we go. Barney's on board with us tonight, as is everyone else. Pepe Lace is here. Jake's looking beautiful as always, he says. Questionable one for Pepe, but there we go. I think Jake's looking beautiful as well. It's great to have the band back together, says Andrew. Michelle says, hello, Tom. Great video as always. Thank you very much, Michelle. What do we reckon on Barnsley? Michelle, wait right there. We'll be on to Barnsley very shortly. There's two of us in this call that will be there in that away end on Tuesday night, which I'm very much looking forward to. Right then, let's crack on. Before we do so, Gaz, would you just mind explaining why I called you the champion of England, just for anyone who might not be aware? Because we need to celebrate your success.
Not so much the champion of England. I represented England.
There we go.
In a squash tournament here in Malta, and somehow I won it. So all good this side. So it just goes to show that being a little bit overweight and an alcoholic can actually you can actually do something.
There you go. Absolutely fantastic message there. Jake, we're going to be spending quite a lot of time together tonight, mate, which I'm very excited about. It's obviously got the podcast later on. I know you're busy on other League One shows tonight too. Just a brief word from yourself on Pompey and Derby before we get into it. You actually predicted us to go there and win last week. I went for a 1-1 and I got it right in the end. Do you think a point away from home is probably the best point you can get in League One at Pride Park?
Well, not if you ask Wardy, because they went there and won, didn't they? But yeah, no, it's a good point. I think if you go to Pride Park and don't get beat, especially with the amount of fans they've got, you look at the quality of players that they've brought in over the summer. They're all players that have been there and done it, worn the T-shirt at this level. And they've got Paul Warren, who's probably the most experienced gaffer at the entire level. So I think if you're walking away from Pride Park, I mean, we said the same Valentine's Day this year. We walked away with a 1-1 draw. Absolutely delighted. I think you guys should be doing the exact same from yesterday.
And we'll get into it in more detail, Barn, but the fashion in which we did it too could have probably been deserving of even more than 1 point, which as a benchmark is a great result on the road for Pompey at Derby.
Yeah, I think judging how the second half went, we will come away thinking it would have been better and we maybe deserved the 3 points. But I don't know, maybe I've got a little bit more hindsight because I wasn't there, but watching the highlights back, it seems to be a very 50-50 game. It looked like they pretty much bossed the first half and we bossed the second half. So perhaps the draw was the fair result. 2 1-1s in a row at Pride Park and the same goal scorers in both games. We're clearly very well matched.
Yes, absolutely. And although I didn't think Derby were as strong. For something was telling me I just didn't see the same strength as I saw at Pride Park last season from Derby County. But more on them in a moment. Let's focus on Pompey for the time being. And if you haven't seen it yet, many of you have, and thank you for all your support on the video yesterday. But if you haven't, we'll take a brief moment back to remind ourselves of all the scenes from the away end at Pride Park on the banks of the River Derwent, if that's how you say it. I hope that's how you say it. Yesterday afternoon. Good morning and a very happy birthday, Andrew!
Yeah, good morning, Tom. What an early start today it is too.
Tom, Andrew,
good morning.
We need to take that initiative and take it to them.
Oh, well, I think it's going to be 4-0 written all over it, as I always do.
You do, absolutely,
yeah.
yeah.
I do, yeah.
Like it was last year, absolutely leading this away. It sounds fantastic.
very controlled at the back at the minute.
I think we've got a reasonable control over the game. Yeah, I think we're playing well generally. We just need that extra little. We need someone to create something.
Well, let's try and make some sense of that, shall we? Because that was, take a breath, because that was a breathless game of football.
That exactly is why we come to football.
Yeah, gives you moments like that, doesn't it?
Emotions. Great day out, mate. What a result at the end of the day. We deserved at least a point out of that.
If not, perhaps more. There we go. There's all the best bits, and as Dill quite rightly says, you know it's goosebumps when you know it's limbs when you get goosebumps rewatching. Right then, let's get into the chat because and to be fair, Barney, I am in agreement. When I was editing it, when I was looking through it, I was thinking, crikey, those chances seem sort of 10% closer to the back of the net than they do in kind of the cold light of day. So maybe there's a little bit of a recency bias going on in there. And nonetheless, we will have a man of the match poll up and running in the live chat down below very shortly. We'll talk through a few standout performances in just a moment or two. Gaz, I described it as a breathless game. There's obviously loads to unpack. What do you take from it overall? What are your overall reflections on yesterday afternoon?
Yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it? Because we're a bit starved of football, weren't we? Because of the international break. So with that break in mind, you're not going into that game with some momentum and stuff like that. Because obviously we had the Peterborough game where we played really well. So if we'd have took that momentum in, to the next games, it would have been obviously probably a bit different. But no, I think we weathered the storm in the first half. We weren't the greatest. We come out of the box a bit early. Obviously, Mourinho said himself he wanted some more. An extra 10% out of everyone for the second half. And it's very similar to last season. We weren't a 90-minute team. We were 45 minutes, whether it be the first half or the second half. But yeah, at least we managed to come away with a point. It's a big point to come away from Derby. I think overall, we can look back on this as a really good point, strong point as well. And some standout performances as well.
Yeah, speaking of stand-up performances, that poll has just gone live now. And initially, as people start reacting to it and cast their votes, there's ups and downs on percentages already. But your choices are Zach Swanson, Alex Robertson, Marlon Pack and Colby Bishop. So get that in there down below. And immediately, Stephen's coming in and said, Pack deserves credit after taking some stick lately. He was very good. Devlin to get more minutes. Hopefully, we'll get on to Devlin later on in the show. Jake, I've told you loads about Marlon Pack. You obviously know loads about him as well. It's one of those, isn't it, where he can go a couple of weeks where you can look at him and you say, oh, he slows the game down. But ultimately, you can then think, well, he was literally running the show yesterday and he was kind of the root of all of the problem causing from a Pompey point of view. Where would you stand it if you were a Pompey fan? Of course, you're not. I know there's a special place in your heart for Pompey, but would you be Marlon Pack, give him stick because he's slowing the game down, or Marlon Pack is fantastic week in, week out? There's a fantastic rating for him later on in the show as well. Where do you stand on Marlon Pack from an outsider's point of view for what he's doing for Pompey?
Yeah, he's definitely an excellent player. I think perhaps he gets watched a little bit more and gets put under a little bit more pressure because of the story of Marlon obviously coming through the academy at Portsmouth and then going off and going on to better things at the time, going to Cardiff and Bristol City and being a regular in the Championship. He's stepped back down to come to Pompey. And with those players that have played 250, 300 games in the Championship and they're stepping down to League One, as part of the main core of your team. You're looking at them and going, well, you need to be performing 8, 9s out of 10 every week. And when he drops a bit of a clanger, like he did away at Charlton last season and at home against Charlton, I think he got sent off in both of those fixtures.
He did.
I think he then comes under scrutiny because he's not performing, whereas he could literally have a block of 6 games where he's 8 out of 10 every week. No one says a word, and then he drops an absolute howler and everyone's on his back. So for me, Marlon Pack's a fantastic player, someone that I certainly wish we had in our side, but a fantastic player at this level, a fantastic constructor of play, is a threat from outside the boxes, looks like he gets back and does his defensive job. So I think Pompey fans should take it a little bit easy on him. He's a very good player, and without Marlon Pack, I don't think Pompey would have had the start that they've had.
Hello to Pompey Kev Mitchell, who says play at Pompey from Southend. Hello to Richard in Spain as well, who joins us this evening. Gav said, hope you're well. Those limbs were incredible yesterday, and although it was a draw, it felt like a win, especially as it was a 95th minute winner. Graham said, well done to all 3 fantastic fans, 3,000, I hope he says, not 3, that travelled to Derby. But well done to the 3 fantastic fans. Brilliant. That's made my night, Graham. No one comes close to our fans play at Pompey, all 3 of them. Bomb. Lots of discourse about the number of draws with Pompey recently, but that is probably a draw that almost pleases everyone yesterday, particularly given, I know you might not see it that way, but Pompey perhaps deserve more out the game. Equally, though, and I think this builds your argument from earlier on, if you don't take your chances, then you come away with what you ultimately earn in a game, don't you?
I think you have to look when the draws we've had have been tight games. We've had our opportunities. We've defended well. There's been tight moments. Sorry, I'm just going to have to pause. I just had beer delivered to me. Thank you,
fantastic.
My fair lady. What a woman. She's now, I can imagine she's blushing now. Sorry, I've now distracted myself.
Draws.
I will repeat what I said on the Football Hour on Friday night, that if you can just score 4 extra goals, we're top of the league comfortably. That's a really fine margin, or is it 3 extra goals, 3 draws, isn't it? No, 4 now. Sorry, with Derby. It's a really, really slim margin that I'm happy to take. We've got one of the best goal differences in the league still. Still now the only team to have not lost a game. I don't get it. I don't get the worry. I don't get the fear. We've gone away to Derby, who are a good team, and if we can repeat that sort of performance at Barnsley on Tuesday, then I think there really is nothing to worry about.
Gaz, it remains the case with Pompey, doesn't it, that when we're on it, when we attack and we're not passive, then you kind of see Pompey beating any side, don't you? And as long as the defeats remain as few as they are, you feel like you're on the right track in the midst of what is a really busy schedule for us at the moment.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously chances yesterday, at least we're testing the keeper. And we're sort of like almost keeping them out at the back. Obviously the penalty going in at 85th minute? Given that maybe last season we would have lost that game. Our heads would have went down, something wouldn't have gelled, but for some reason that spurred us on yesterday, and that was the character building which Rossini was doing in the dressing room. Because after the goal went in, all of a sudden we had 5 minutes of great football, and we scored the goal that ultimately got us the point. Which at that point it feels like a win, because obviously we were going to walk away with nothing, 5 minutes ago. So it's it's a good test for the lads. Because obviously, we're one of them teams that seems to always concede. It's never going to, it should be like a 4-1 written all over it, because there's always that one, But yesterday, good test of character, and I'm glad we got the point away.
And Jake, historically, Pompey are not a kind of team like a Lincoln City who perform well against top sides away from home. It's been a long time since you've had any kind of success or any kind of measurable success on the road. Interesting to see Pompey actually dominate a game on the road against a top side in League One, if that's what you're going to call it. Also, I wanted to, this is probably a best question for you in terms of the League One view, but Derby weren't what I was expecting them to be. In large parts, they kind of sat 10 behind the ball and were kind of inviting the Pompey press, and almost a Paul 1 masterclass where they just capitalise on one moment of brilliance and everything's forgotten about, and it's 1-0 for a penalty and then that's just game over. His name's completely gone out of my head. James Collins is the name I'm looking for. Yeah. But it wasn't to be. And I hope that maybe exposes what was a pretty poor Derby County side yesterday. Not quite firing yet, are they?
No, they're not. And do you know what? I don't think it's a Derby County thing. I think it's actually a Paul Warne thing. You look at Paul Warne's teams when he was at Rotherham, how many times did Rotherham absolutely batter an opponent and they got promoted? You look at their games, I think they won about 70-80% of their games by a single goal, and some of those they probably were unfair to win. So I think it's a Paul Warne problem at the moment. I think Derby have definitely got the players there to be a bit more positive at home. But yesterday it looked like Pompey completely ran them over in terms of chances created. I mean, if you make that many chances against us next week, you could have 5 or 6 if you're if you're fortunate. But I don't think it's well, it is clearly a Derby problem, but I think it's more to due to the manager than it is the players. They're not quite responding to the way that he wants it. I don't think he was fully backed in the window either, which didn't help. So they're having a bit of a tough time. I think Nappers went up there the other week, didn't they? They beat them, but they were very fortunate to do so. That they've only had a couple of wins on the road this year. I think they're below us, actually, in the table. They are. So it says everything you need to know if Derby are below Lincoln after 8 games, doesn't it?
And quite a few boos as well on full time, which I was I thought that kind of tells you quite a lot, doesn't it? Harry said I travelled down from to Derby from Cheshire to see them. Definitely felt like Derby were on the back foot for most of the game. We need some creativity within the attacking third. How many times have we said that already this season, Harry? Glenn's just mentioning what we were saying there, Jakey. Derby did very little. Pompey in it Mush said shouldn't be moaning at all. They've set a bar now because of an excellent performance. Adam was impressed with the limbs. Dave said on that performance, more teams will go to Derby and get 3 points this season. So we will see if one is really that great. Interesting comment. Thank you for getting in touch, Dave. Louis said, absolutely brilliant yesterday. Limbs amazing, excellent football. Carry this on against Barnsley and we're fine. Let's chat about Will Norris, actually, Gaz. Joe's brought up the point there. His distribution is perhaps going under the radar a little bit, but it really is the bedrock and the baseline of any Pompey success, isn't it? Some solidity. I'm trying to do long words after a long weekend. Solidity between the sticks.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've been a bit starved. Obviously, with Bazzuno when he came in, it was like a breath of fresh air, wasn't it, in the goal? And then since then, we had a few goalkeepers come and go. But obviously, people wrote Norris off at the beginning before he even kicked the ball. Yeah, that's typical Pompey fans, isn't it? They write a guy up before he's even put a shirt on. But no, he's actually done some work. And distribution now, he's got that settled front four now in front of him. They seem to be gelling really well between them. Obviously, Paul's an amazing player, a good leader at the back there with Shaughnessy, and we know what Corner can do. But yeah, Norris at the moment, calm. We need, when he's not doing much work, he's still concentrating, and when he's called upon, he actually does, manage to pull off that good save. And I don't think there was many shots on target even for the second half. I know obviously, with a penalty and all that, but I don't think keepers were tested much anyway yesterday. So again, it's concentration levels. You've got to keep it up. But yeah, distribution, definitely looking now for that long ball, that run on the right or the left. It's good to see. And it's better now. It's better, more, the distribution's better, than what it was before. At the beginning of the season, it was like, just kicking it and hoofing it. It was like, well, where's this going to go? But he actually has done some homework and done some work on the training field. And I'm very confident in the back.
I'm pleased with him as well. Just to break the fourth wall here, this is actually Barney. He said, go and subscribe. He said, my guess booze for the ref, Pack maybe handball and Colby maybe offside for our goal. Paul Warne came out, actually, Barn, and said that he saw the Pack handball. It's a bit of a storyline, bit of an under-rumbling of handballs all afternoon, really. There was the one that wasn't given on, sadly, Jake, I'm sorry to say, Regan Ball probably had his worst Pompey display of the season so far. Still a good performance, but his worst of the season. Perhaps that tells you more about the bar he set himself. On the handball situation specifically, Barn, I said in the video on the way out, I think she got the handball decision to give a penalty right, but perhaps not for the correct offence. What did you make of that? And what do you make of what you said as well?
I think the handball is probably fair. If it has clearly deflected off his leg and gone onto his hand, then it shouldn't be a handball. But I don't think it's that clear. The only replays I've seen of it, it's not clear, but it has clearly struck his hand. There's not much of a deflection, if any at all, off the Derby player in front of him. So I just don't think his hand should be in that position right in front of the goal. You're just asking for it to happen, aren't you? With how tight the handball decisions are nowadays, it's a massive risk to be putting your arms in that position. Both managers seem to be unhappy with the ref after the game, but I actually think she might have got it pretty bang on from the decisions I've watched on the highlights. that's just my opinion.
Did you see the handball back, Jake?
Yeah, Tom, mate, I watched
do we
your
think?
excellent video because it threw back memories from where I graduated on that pitch that Pompey played on yesterday. So fond memories, mate. But no, I did watch it. There's two incidents. Isn't there? There's the one before, and then there's the one. I think I agreed with you, Rizzy, when I watched it this morning, that the one that gets given probably wasn't the handball. I have watched the extended highlights, and the one before it definitely is. So. You could be sat here having conceded 2 penalties. So I suppose Pompey should feel not very fortunate because the one that was given was actually incorrect. But I think Pompey can feel slightly fortunate that they've only conceded 1. But is it Rebecca Welch? Is that the referee?
It is. Yes,
she's got history, mate, of giving dodgy penalties. Peterborough away last season, she's all over him. So not to give her any stick, but
I think sometimes referees, if they haven't given the penalty, sometimes they think maybe I should have. Maybe they're looking for an incident going forward where, do you know what, they're going to get this one regardless. I know his arm is up in a sort of weird position, but he has actually sort of slowed himself down. But I think
it shouldn't be like that, though, Gav, should it? It shouldn't be like that. Referees,
no, it shouldn't be like that. But I've watched some Sky Sport documentaries with referees, and a lot of them do say that there's sometimes they do give it because they have missed one before, like they deserve it, but no one's deserving of it. If you've missed it, you let it go. It shouldn't influence your decision on another incident 5 minutes later. I'm just saying possibly it might have done. Obviously, it's hindsight's a great thing, but she had that opportunity and obviously, she gave it and it was given.
My signal might have gone a little bit poor here. I'm just uploading a clip for later on. I don't know if you can tell, breaking the fourth wall, but there's been quite a busy weekend. So 4-0 Sunday Live isn't quite as ready to go at bang on 7 o'clock as it normally is. Just one more shout on the penalty, if I may, or on the overall refereeing performance as a whole. And I'm so glad that we have 4-0 Sunday Live to be able to make these points and give these kind of viewpoints and opinions. Because otherwise you'd never normally have any time to do so. The thing with me with Rebecca Welsh's performance yesterday is I'm with Barney. I think by and large, for the level that you're at with League One, you're never going to get a fantastic official. So to take a half decent one, fair play. Every single week, Barney and Gaz will back me up on this. Colby Bishop never gets given the foul when he's looking for it, when he's having a hug with a defender. The referees always seem to favour the defender, never going to favour the attacker in that situation. All afternoon, she was giving it one way Colby, next way Derby. One way Colby, next way Derby. So if Colby fell forward, she'd give it to him. If Colby fell backwards, she'd give it to Derby. It just felt a little bit inconsistent, which is so often the case, isn't it, with referees? But it's just that those couple of moments. I agree with Gaz on the point. I know exactly what Jake's saying with regards to you don't want an official to give something to make up for a previous error. She gave it so quickly and it happened so quickly, not suggesting she's looking for it. But I think if there's any kind of thing that she clocks in her mind, she goes, I missed one earlier on, better give that one. I feel like that's probably what's happened there. But anyway, let's move on from referees because I feel like we spend the majority of 4-0 Sunday Live talking about referees. But people in the comments seem to be... and it's always the way, isn't it, where you mention an official when the game's not quite gone the way you wanted it to and they get to see it once, we get the benefit of a load of highlights. Anyway, let's crack on. Barn, I know it's probably not the one to come to you on, but I actually thought plenty of opportunities in the second half for Pompey, albeit maybe not quite as close. This is a first half moment. Lovely little bit of football. Overall, from the chances we had, do you think we were maybe slightly deserving of more? I know you can maybe expand on what you said at the top of the show with regards to the highlights, maybe not suggesting we were too much better than Derby, but with the chances and perhaps even the performance, do you think we deserve better?
Yeah, there's a couple of chances. Is it Shaughnessy that gets one that falls? He sort of passes it round the post. That's one of those chances that you think if that's not a defender that lands to, that's a goal. I just have to repeat what I said at the beginning. Really, that it does feel like it was a 50-50 game. They'll think the same. They'll think they should have taken their chances. We think we should have taken ours. It's the same as the draw statement, isn't it? You think, it's that one. You're that one chance away from another 2 points and being second instead of sixth.
Let me ask the same question in a different way then, Barn. Put it this way: if we'd lost 1-0, we'd have been heartbroken and felt really hard done by, wouldn't we?
Yeah, definitely. I think a point is a fair result either way. Both teams will be vaguely happy with a point, but still feel like it's a missed opportunity.
Yeah, and a slightly fortuitous penalty in the end there. Gaz, would you say the message would be as simple? We're talking about breaking down the final third. Is the message as simple as when the time's right, take the shot and stop passing, change it up a bit from working it wider than trying to play in Bishop? Maybe just be that little bit more braver on the ball, especially when the moment's right for you to take a shot on.
Oh yeah, I mean, it depends on what they're doing on the training field, doesn't it? I mean, Mourinho has a way of playing. It's not going to be ticky-tacky Arsenal football, just trying to walk the ball in. We had shots, we had chances yesterday, but it's just a case of who wants to be braver, because it's already taken a shot and it keeps going over the crossbar. But obviously, fans will say, "Look, he's had 5 shots in, it keeps going over." Some players, if they're not having a good day, it's like, the easy option is just to pass it to somebody else, unless you're 1 or 2-0 up. That's when you start shooting, taking shots whenever you want. But because it was so close yesterday, 0-0 up until obviously the penalty, it was only the last sort of 5 minutes when we started playing football, But yeah, that's when you just want anyone to shoot, and you just played to the 90. What was it, 98th minute now? Is it something like that? You don't play to 90 minutes anymore. That's gone.
No, there was enough time for a 95th minute equaliser, wasn't there, from Colby Bishop? So that tells you everything you need to know. I'm just flashing up the second half statistics on the screen just to make sure that's very clear. This is not the game overall. 3 big chances for Pompey, Jake, looking like a second half performance. Of course, we're not basing it all entirely on statistics, and quite a lot of particularly League One football is what you see on the eye rather than potentially looking at the stats. But you would argue, you're looking at pretty much every department apart from corners, that Pompey had the lion's share of the second half for definite.
Yeah, you did, and you showed me those stats, but you've left out the first half stats. I'm guessing they went away in the way of Derby, which
not a lot in the first half stats. It wasn't not a lot in it.
But yeah, Pompey certainly looked like they had the most of the second half. Then from obviously you guys were at the game or watched it, unless you barn and watched it on the highlights. But it was a good performance. But second half, the opportunities, you hit the bar. Keeper made a good save. You put one over, and then the Forest fan goes back to Derby and slings Robin Hood's arrow. Can I just say, by the way, Robin Hood is not from Nottingham; he's from Lincoln. It's a common misconception, but you know what? We'll let it slide. But yeah, Colby Bishop going back to Derby and haunting them, which will be, I'm sure that was enjoyed down the River Trent. Put it that way.
Every day is a school day here on 4-0 Sunday Live. I bet there's plenty of people out there tonight that didn't know that. What is there any backstory to that, Jake, or is that just
Well, the tales of Robin Hood are him running towards the Sherwood Forest from the Lincolnshire area. So,
right, okay. Well, there we go. There's that one there for you. Gaz, a lot of unity on the... Oh, that's the wrong clip. A lot of unity on the full-time whistle, I thought. There was the first proper John Messino's Blue and White Army. There's the little fist bump and punch to the air for the man with the arch. What did you make of it all in terms of connection with the fans and the players to the fans and the fans to the players and fans to the manager as well?
Yeah, I think even afterwards when he's doing his interviews, he's actually very honest. He doesn't hide behind his frustration. Even he says, first half we were awful. He always does it like a fan's perceptive. Well, I've got my words now.
Perception
both tonight, mate.
Perspective
or perspective?
Perspective, yeah, perspective.
Right.
Fans' perspective view on the interview. So he's not doing any rubbish. Normally when they go on after the game, they have this what they've got to say, blah 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 blah. But no, he tells it how it is, and yeah, the connection is. You can definitely see it there, and he just wants the best for Pompey. He gets it, and the squad that he has now, even the likes of the manager coming out saying, Pompey are going to be up there. They've got great players. Collins, when he came out, saw the Derby interview afterwards. He said that these guys are really good players. They've got the energy and stuff like that. They just need that extra, that extra 1 or 2, 10%, and yeah, we can really kick on. So yeah, there's definitely a connection there with the fans.
And you said it earlier on, he reckons we've got 10% to go. I would imagine that 10% is probably a bit more of attacking threat coming back from injury as well. We'll get onto that a little bit later on. Welcome along to 4-0 Sunday Live, everybody. We are halfway through tonight's hour. We've got Lincoln and Barnsley chat to get into with yours truly to my left as you see it here on the screen coming up later on. We've got a couple more bits and pieces to chat about Derby. Let us know what you thought yesterday. Michelle was the one asking the question. She said what changes should be made on Tuesday. Morel, Rafty and Sadie available. Hopefully Sadie will get onto that a little bit. Michelle's really keen to get onto Barnsley tonight. That's the second comment regarding Barnsley. So Michelle will get there. Don't you worry. We'll be there in just a moment. I wanted to give a massive shout out to Zach Swanson, who was the man I picked out twice in the video. I thought it was an outstanding afternoon from him. And he for me, Barney, reads the game actually wise beyond his years. You're a man of detail, as all four of us would like to say we are. It wasn't just yesterday. Cast your mind back a couple of weeks to Peterborough. Did you spot him kind of holding off the fullback for Marlon to get his ball in to Abu to then score the goal? It's little things like that you kind of twig and think you're actually doing more than you'd expect from a right back. You're getting in amongst it. I thought his carry, some of the ways he can just come across, completely deal with a situation, reminded me of his Spurs extravaganza from a little while ago. What did you make of him yesterday?
Yeah, he's definitely found his confidence again. I can't remember which game it was. The first one he started in the league after, was it Rafferty got a suspension?
It would have been after Stevenage, so whichever one that was. It might have been Peterborough then. Probably Peterborough. Mm-hmm. Is there a game in between that? Someone will tell us, I'm sure.
I feel like there was another game. But anyway, I felt like there was one game where he didn't have a great game. He was a bit shaky first 45 minutes. Possibly, yeah. It was the Peterborough League Cup game.
Fine.
He had a bit of a shaky performance that night, but I think him and Pack have got a good relationship going on. In the Peterborough League game, a couple of times when Zach moved forward, and then if we got caught out, Pack filled in for him. So maybe that's their agreement. That's the system they've got working out. That if Zach is going to come forward, there obviously needs to be that cover on the right wing. Any team, if they've got an ounce of sense, are going to exploit you if they see your wing backs on the attack. That's possibly the thing I would get him to just improve on that a little bit more. I have seen him give the ball away a few times, possibly too many, that he leaves our right back area exposed perhaps.
Dan said, shout out to Terry Devlin. He's obviously not on this graphic here, Gaz, but he came on and within a couple of moments of being on the pitch, provided the assist for Colby's winner, which I was watching back with my brother in the car on the way back from Derby. I think there's a question for Colby maybe slightly being a little bit further forward than he should have been, especially when the knock comes off of Devlin. But, that's kind of... that's water under the bridge now because it's in the back of the net. Terry Devlin will be delighted. He's just come back from Northern Ireland duty, as Messino was saying in his post-match, straight back into the squad, gets on the pitch, Derby away in, no disrespect to some of the places he'd be playing at when he was over in Northern Ireland with Glentoran, but what an occasion for him to be involved in and to get the assist as well. Delighted for him.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not easy coming on to that sort of atmosphere, especially when, you sort of not chasing the game. Obviously, I don't think we were 0-0. I think we were 0-0 when it came on, wasn't it? But yeah, when the penalty goes in, and then obviously coming into that big occasion for him, and the noise was huge. Wasn't it? I mean, you could, obviously when the goal went in, it was even louder. But yeah, to get that, I think he's settled in well. He's got some nice people around him. I think there's some good characters in the squad that are actually nurturing you. Obviously, Pack is very experienced now. And there's a really good camaraderie in this squad at the moment. They all want to play football together. It's a nice bench that we've got at the moment. Obviously, the likes of Sparks coming on. Tino, I thought when he come on yesterday, I thought he had a really good, introduction now coming back. So yeah, it's nice to see a bench where we've got some. It's squad, isn't it? It's a squad game, and we need these players. They're not going to play week in, week out, but if you're going to come on and put your shirt on it and give us all that you can. I'll take that. I'll take that 9, 10 times out of 10. That's what I want.
Yeah. Deal said big shout out for Abu Kamara. Played the last 2 games for goals. Breeds confidence, absolutely. And Shocknessy is an unsung hero, says Mikey. He's so solid every week. He absolutely is. Jake, obviously I wouldn't expect you to know the ins and outs of the performance. I'm going to ask you from a more maybe a psychological point of view. Alex Robertson playing there alongside Marlon Pack. You well know that midfield double pivots usually Morel and Pack. For a young lad to come on, it's a big loan move for him. Manchester City youth product, straight into the side. You wouldn't have thought it was his first proper foray into a starting 11 playing in that particular role yesterday. Just shows really, I suppose, the kind of player he is, where he can drop deep into that position. I think he's unlucky with the yellow card. I think he gave one of those to Rebecca Welsh and ended up getting a yellow card. But the challenge that came in on him was a strong yellow, probably even an orange, and she didn't give the Derby player the satisfaction of a yellow, which angered me a little bit as another referee point for you. But Alex Robertson, out of position, but still class. Signs of a good young talent for Pompey.
Yeah, I think it's really good that Messina is actually testing him in different positions as well, because he came in, you were ranting and raving saying he's a really good, the number 10 that we need, and I think he played Forest Green away in the Cup, and you said he looked fantastic, and then he played away at Orient, he looked really good again, and that's all well and good being able to play in preferred positions, but sometimes there's going to be injuries and suspensions or people ahead of you in a pecking order. You've got Tino Anjorin that can play in that role, Terry Devlin, you've got Gavin White who can play there, Kamara Lane can all probably play as a number 10. Scully could if you really wanted to push a square heg into a round pole. Don't do that anytime soon. But yeah,
highlight of the night, that one.
It's really important to play him in different positions, and by the looks of it and by the sounds of it, he did really well. Yesterday we had a Man City loanee a couple of years ago who was very similar in Lewis Fiorini, who went up to the Championship with Blackpool. These Man City kids are so technically gifted on the ball, and they're so tactically aware as well because of the system they come through. And I think I actually heard Pep Guardiola, I know it's so off subject, but Pep Guardiola talking about Mateus Nunes that they've signed from Wolves, and they're thinking about turning him into a fullback and not. He's a midfielder. He's always been a midfielder. So when they're coming from that schooling of education, I sort of said this for the T-Lop Extra, they're coming from a good pedigree, a good background. They can really play anywhere. You could probably play Alex Robertson at right back, and he'd do a fantastic job. That's how well schooled he is. So, it's really important, especially when you have Morel out and players out. So to show that he can do an adequate job away at Derby in that atmosphere, it is really good. Shows you the character that he is.
There's a couple of ratings there, Barn, that need a bit of context behind them. Obviously, Regan Paul giving away the penalty is not going to help. And then obviously Will Norris not saving the penalty, I suppose, is a little bit harsh to drop his rating down, but it does. And that's kind of the way it works with the stats to his name. Any of those that you'd be in complete agreement with? We've hardly really mentioned, apart from a bit of a schooling on where Robin Hood comes from, Colby Bishop tonight, who, he will take an awful lot of heart, obviously being a Forest fan, as we mentioned in the video, and he mentioned in his post-match. Any of those that you're particularly taking issue with, or you think by and large, lots of greens on there for Pompey, pretty solid away performance?
I think the Will Norris one is one that you could potentially take issue with because he's only conceded one goal. However, did he really have many saves, if any, to make? So it's one of them where he's had a bit of a, I don't know, he hasn't had to get that involved. He's not maybe delivered some of his excellent passing like he did against Peterborough. Like his passing at home in the league against Peterborough was phenomenal. Some of the best we've seen for a long time from a goalie, I mean, of course. But I think that probably looks about right from what I've seen.
Yeah, and Gaz has mentioned there the impact of Tino Anjorin, and we've obviously got that other unavailability thing that we've got at the moment. You're almost a completely new look side. You think of Cassini Yengi, you think Christian Sadie not evolved at all yesterday. You've got Morel, Rafferty to come back from injury, 4 really key players to this side. Gaz as well, which, that's quite exciting, is it? The sheer amount of I know you mentioned it already, but just to finally finish it off, a lot of attacking talent to come back from either injury or suspension. It's good signs that we're this good or this solid. You still got plenty more to show for ourselves from a Pompey point of view.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and like I said earlier on, it's a squad game. We need these players. There's going to be rotation. Of course, there is. We're still in the cup game. We've still got a busy the rest of the month, really, haven't we? We've still got we've got Barnsley, we've got Lincoln, then we've got the Wigan. So we've still got a busy September, and we're at the 17th at the moment. So it's going to be a busy fixture, and we're going to need these players everyone's got to chip in. It's going to give headaches for Messina, obviously, which is good headaches because obviously this time last season we were running out of strikers, we were running out of midfielders. The thing is, though, it's just like for example, Morale, does he come straight back into the team? After the performances, let's face it, obviously the Peterborough game, and the game yesterday, you know, it's difficult. I mean, we're just outsiders looking in, but you know, it's difficult for even. We'd put Joe straight away. You know, he'd be on the starting 11, wouldn't he? But you know, does he deserve it? You know, it's a difficult one, isn't it? You know.
Careful, Barn, because you spent 45 minutes with him a little while ago. But go on, massive shake of the head.
I just think you've got to almost be punished more than just one game. There's almost got to be an extra club game punishment for such a stupid red card. Some of the other red cards, sometimes you get it. As he said on this channel, he's not the fastest, he's not the strongest, he's not the biggest. So he's got to be aggressive to make up for that lack of height and speed. But that doesn't mean you need to make stupid decisions to show you've got a lack of sensible choices in your game. I think this should be an opportunity for Mousinho to say to Robertson, right, we'll give you a couple of games, or Robertson's had his one game, perhaps you now give Devlin a chance in that position, or Angerin. You know, I think you've got plenty of choices there, like we've just said.
Mad Moths said, can I just say, yes, we picked up a lot of draws since Mousinho took over, but my word, it's almost 20 games unbeaten. Has to be giving credit where it's due. Loving this team. I'm not sure if he's talking about the 4-0 team tonight. If he is, thank you very much. I'm sure he's loving the team as well. Before we do get on to preview the games, I'm aware we're coming up to 20-8, and we are finishing promptly this evening for everyone's benefit, not least Jakey boy. And we'll come back to that schedule in a moment, perhaps at the end of the show, Gaz, because I think you make a really good point. Although, just briefly as well, when you look at that, and I won't ask you any question on this, we'll come back to it later on, but post-September, that's then not a bad run, is it? I know you're looking at Port Vale in there as high flyers at the moment, and then Northampton and Carlisle look particularly as straightforward as it can be in League One, perhaps. There we go. What we must do, as it can get in League One, Jake said, as it can get. Come on, I didn't say it's going to be straightforward, as it can get in League One. Before we crack on, let's get to the man of the match poll, because I seem to always forget to do these by the end of what we're chatting about with a game over the weekend. 9% for Marlon Pack, which I think, unfortunately for him, he's fallen by the wayside of some fantastic performers. 10% for Alex Robertson. The man with the magic hat, Colby Bishop, has 12%, and leading the way with 70% of the vote is Mr. Zach Swanson this evening. So congratulations to you, sir. You were fantastic, and I love you to bits. Right, we'll chat about Barnsley to start with. We're going to hear from Taylor in just a moment. Before we do so, let's take a look at what's in store on Tuesday night for Pompey. Barney's driving. Pompey's last trip to Oakwell all but ended any realistic playoff conversation last season, and was also the result of a previous postponement of the original date for the game. That night, Colby Bishop acrobatically headed home Pompey's only goal of the fixture, who were well beaten on that occasion. The winds of change have swept through South Yorkshire since then, and over the summer, a change in manager and several high-profile departures has left the Tykes adjusting to life for another season in League One, having come so close to promotion via the playoffs at Wembley back in May. And before we get into our thoughts on this, let's listen to the man himself. Here's 60 seconds from Taylor on what we can expect from Barnsley on Tuesday.
Yo, what's up guys, it's Taylor from Barnsley on Tour. Tom's told me sending a quick video about Tuesday night. Sorry I couldn't join the stream, I'm in and out of stuff tonight. But what you can expect from Barnsley, we're on a decent running streak. Our last 4 games we have won 2-0. We haven't conceded in 4 games. Obviously you guys are still unbeaten, I do believe, and you haven't conceded many goals. So I'm looking forward to Tuesday. It's always a good game. We beat you at our place last year. That was a good result, but I think this time out it's going to be a lot more tough, and I think it'll be a lot more closer, if I'm honest. Both started well, both up there. A win could see us potentially top of the league if the results go our way on Tuesday night, so I'm looking forward to it. We should be direct, we should be looking to score. Devante Cole's on fire at the moment, so hopefully he can keep going, and I think it'll be a close game and not many goals, as we've both got solid defences. Quick score prediction, I'm going to give a 1-1, but hopefully I can be more confident and we can get the win. But I'll hand it back to you guys.
Gazzy mentioned there about potentially going top of the league on Tuesday night if results go their way. That's actually the exact same case for Pompey if all is well in Port Vale against Burton from a Burton point of view, although we might expect Port Vale to do quite well on Tuesday given the run that they're on at the moment. It's going to be a tough one. There was a comment earlier on that I saw that mentioned, would you be happy with 5 points this week, a point away in both the legs and then 3 points at Fratton Park? I know Jakey won't be particularly happy about that. We'll get onto that in a moment. But going to be an interesting one on Tuesday night. Perhaps maybe, given that Derby wasn't quite what it was billed to be from our point of view, maybe Pompey's toughest test so far this season.
Yeah, it could be, yeah, but you got to look at how we finished the game. So I think that's one positive thing for Messina. It's not like we started good and then tailed off towards the end. So there's that momentum going into the Tuesday game, as in, we got the draw and the dressing room, like Messina said, at least the trip back, for the fans was a lot better. There were 1-1. The atmosphere and on the coach would have been better for the players. So at least confidence is good going into that game. It could have been a lot different if we'd lost that game. So, yeah, Barnsley will be tough. Yeah, they've got 3 wins in a row at the moment. And it's weird, that top of the table at the moment, Exeter, even like Exeter, Oxford, Stevenage, the table's going to change massively between now and Christmas. Of course it is. But, yeah, at the moment, Tuesday, it's going to be a tough game for sure, especially on a Tuesday night as well. Obviously, the fans, they've travelled all the way up to Derby on a Saturday. They've got to travel all the way back up there on a Tuesday. Yeah, bless them.
Well, there we go. Bless me and Barn, because we'll be on the road there. And to be fair, Gaz, if it wasn't a Tuesday, I know you'd be there yourself as well, mate, because I know you'd be loving to join us for that one. We've got to go back roughly 22 years, Barn, for the last time Pompey won a league game at Oakwell. So here's hoping that changes on Tuesday.
Well, it means another outing for a retro shirt on Tuesday. As you know, my little gimmick is I tend to wear the shirt of the last time we won against that opposition in that stadium. And it's the last time that didn't work was Barnsley last season.
Oh, no.
We've been undefeated with that. If you go with that kind of, wearing that shirt, and I've been there, that's the last time it didn't work. So, we need to fix it this Tuesday and at least not lose. That'll be just an improvement from last season.
There was a point in question on either Rafferty or Swanson. I'll come back to both Barney and Gaz on that one, because it's going to be a tough one. Obviously, Joe Rafferty back from suspension. Swanson, as we've all just given him a man of the match performance yesterday, so it's going to be interesting. Jakey boy, for those of us joining us tonight who might not have seen too much of Barnsley's summer, Barnsley's start to the season, where they are at the moment, what have you made to how they've got on in the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, it's been difficult really for a Barnsley side. They lost Michael Duff, who was the reason they got to the playoff final, lost a load of key players, but pivotally they kept Luke O'Connell, who's probably the crown jewel down at Barnsley. Lots of change, like I said. Neil Collins come in from Tampa Bay, got off to probably the best start everyone's ever got off to, a 7-0 drubbing at Port Vale on opening day. Since then, they've picked up recently, but they were really poor. They had a couple of results where didn't go their way. They got back on track with a win at Wigan the other week. They've signed John McAtee from Luton, who's a fantastic player. I won't say where he came from, but a fantastic player nonetheless. And to be honest, since then they've been soaring really. Devante Cole, 8 league goals already this year. He's going to be someone that you need to keep quiet on Tuesday night if you're going to get any chance of a result. But they've got some fantastic players in the squad, like I said, Connell, Devante Cole. So it's going to be a tough one for you to go to Oakwell and get 3 points. I think if you walk away from Oakwell with a point, I think he's done very well.
Sam Cosgrove as well, another one that came in over the summer too. So I don't know whether he's been featured too much the last couple of weeks since he joined them. Right then, get in the comments, boys and girls. Give us either Rafferty or Swanson. I want to see who you'd be starting at right back. I'm interested to see what the split's like. We'll go to the panel. Gaz, would you be sticking with Swanson or would you be twisting back to Rafferty? Because it's a tough one.
For me, it's a no-brainer. It's Swanson. At the moment, He's worked his socks off to get into that starting 11, and deservedly so. Keep him there. You don't, if it's not broke, don't fix it type thing.
Yeah, I'd be massive. Oh, I did want to try and sit on the fence, but I think we all know here on the channel, we've been here on Sunday Lives with you boys and over the last couple of weeks, and we've all spoken about how much we love Swanson. I hate to say it, I thought it was going to be a little bit more of a debate, but sadly, it's all right, Ben. I'll hand him over to you in a minute, mate. Just want to chat to my link, and then he'll be gone. Someone had to spoil the party, didn't they, Barn?
Dylan.
Well, Dylan, you're getting your own way there to Barnsley.
But yeah, I mean the rest of them are all Swanson Barn. I'm assuming you're in agreement. Yeah, you are in agreement. There you go.
From an attacking perspective, which I think it is more important in the modern day football. He is better than Rafferty on the whole. Yes, Rafferty has delivered a couple of pretty decent assists so far this season, particularly that whipped in ball at Leyton Orient. I just still think Swanson brings more overall.
Cool. Well, there we go. There's end of debate, and feel free to carry on chatting about that. It's interesting, maybe match fitness as well. He's had 3 on the spin since he's kind of been in, and I was worried he went down with a little knock as well, but it looks like that was nothing to worry about. Ben wants us to keep him, so keep him we will until 8 o'clock at least. Let's chat Lincoln City. Lincoln City head south next weekend for the 9th league meeting between the two sides since 2019. Pompey could make it 5 unbeaten against Lincoln on Saturday and end a run of consecutive 0-0 draws of late, which was the scoreline in both the home and away leg last season. Of course, both clubs have been managed by the former Pompey boss Danny Cowley, who won both the League Two title and EFL trophy with the Imps during his time in charge. Last time around, Colby Bishop missed a chance that was more difficult not to score. Let's hope the man with the magic hat, who's already found some decent scoring form so far this season, can put that blunder behind him next weekend. Come on then, son. You've got, 7 and a bit minutes. Tell us what to expect.
Oh, you're
Go on, give us the lowdown, and I'll send the link to Moose, and then we'll crack on.
Okay, all right, okay, fair enough. Well, we've played 7 games, lost once, so we're pretty good in that way. The only defeat came on the road away at Bolton. Bolton were fantastic that day. It was 2 set pieces in their own goal that split them. Since then, we've been pretty fantastic, I would say. 3 league wins. 3 league draws as well in that time. We've also progressed to the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup. So the Wednesday after we play Pompey, we've got a massive game against West Ham at home, which will be one that we're looking forward to. Knocked out Sheffield United on penalties, which was pretty good. But the league form's been all right. Like I say, 3 wins and 3 draws in the last 6. The wins have been really at home. The 3-0 wins against Blackpool and Wickham, with the one against Shrewsbury as well. And then the draws have been Northampton, Bristol Rovers, and then yesterday against Carlisle. So we're doing pretty well. The issue that we've got at the minute is we've got 3 strikers and none of them are fit. So we've got Ben House, who's out for 5 months, Tyler Walker, who's out for 8, and then Jack Vale, who we signed from Blackburn on deadline day, is out. And another striker we've got coming in, Jack Moylan. I don't know if anyone follows the Irish League. He's coming in from Shelbourne on the 1st of January. We can't play him until then. So, yeah, it's pretty good, mate. We're doing okay. I fancy us to come to Fratton and get something, because we tend to do well at the big grounds generally, which will be a good compliment to you, actually. If we go to Fratton and win, it probably tells you that you're going to be up there this year. So, we've got a good core of players. Goalkeeper's a bit of a downgrade on last year. Probably had the best keeper in the league last year in Carl Rushworth. We've got Ethan Arrowhan in midfield, who Tom, that I rave and rant about. Ethan Hamilton's come good, scored a worldie yesterday, if you've seen it, which I know you haven't because you've been really busy. And then I can't avoid it anymore, mate.
I was wondering when it was coming.
What a boy. Absolutely love. I think he's brilliant. Won goal of the month, obviously, for August, didn't he? Got an assist yesterday. He scored 2 or 3 himself. So really happy that we paid Pompey a little bit of money for him. So there you go. I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to pop them across. But that's been a summary of Lincoln so far this year.
Kind regards, Jake. Gaza, expectations for next weekend?
It's going to be one of them. I mean, obviously we've got the game on Tuesday, so it's difficult to because it's a big game on Tuesday, isn't it? So we'll have to sort of do we hit the reset button after Tuesday, and then everything. We'll have to see what happens. I think obviously with form wise, if we get a good result on Tuesday, that could take that into that game as well. I don't fear Lincoln at the moment. Not like obviously as I've done in the past. Obviously, there's always that ex-player that can always come back and haunt you, like Rico Hackett, which is good. I'm glad that he's doing well for yourselves there at Lincoln, because I liked him as a player, but for me, he was always like an impact player. coming on and he'd play a good game. But obviously, you're saying he's playing all right at the moment from the start. Is that what you're saying at the moment, Jake? Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's playing predominantly on the right hand side because we've got no strikers. We've had to pair him up front with Danny Mandroy, who I should have mentioned earlier in the show. Really, he's been fantastic this year. I think Tom gave him player of the week the other week. Tom on T-Lock.
Can't remember what I had for my dinner last night,
you
mate.
did it rightly so,
probably
mate.
did. Yeah, lovely.
But no, yeah. Although he didn't play yesterday, so going to be difficult. I think we're going to come into Fratton with two up front in a 3-5-2 formation, and we've got no strikers. So our two strikers will probably be Rico will be one of them. And do you know what? Hakeem Delican, who was meant to be sold on deadline day to a non-league team, came on yesterday, did really well. He's probably back in the fold now. So yeah, we're a little bit light up from it. If we don't concede, then we should be okay. But I'm terrified.
I can remember a couple of times Rico playing as a striker actually for Pompey's. It's not something that he's completely completely, what's the word? Not immune to, because that's the opposite, isn't it? Something he's never done before. It's not something he's never done before. Barn, is it a case of kind of seeing how Barnsley goes and going from there for Lincoln? Because it's difficult to judge after what is a mammoth Tuesday night trip. A lot of travelling, a lot of miles to cover, a lot of game, a lot of, when Pompey is slightly light on the water at the moment. See how we get on, and then we'll go from there. As Gaz said, hit the reset button on Wednesday morning.
I'm going to use another Pompey show analogy. If you're being a professional manager, as John Mousinho would probably think he is, you have to go one game at a time. We've got something we've not had for a few years. We've got a squad. We've got choices. So that's a nice thing to have. And as we've said, there's players that are on the fringe of coming back that you think maybe he'll have some choices to make if there is either good or bad performances on Tuesday night. I like seeing a bit of rotation. I know Colby keeps scoring, but I sometimes it wouldn't even mind if he had a rest of a game. It just gives someone else an opportunity.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Yes, please.
A couple more minutes here on 4-0 Sunday Live. Time to get your score predictions into the chat. We've got a minute and a half, 2 minutes to go. We'll come to the main man himself, Mr. Malta, Gaz Guinness. Mate, what we saying? Give us two if you can. One for Barnsley, one for Lincoln if you would, sir.
Yeah, Barnsley will be a tight. I think we'll nick it. I think it'll be 2-1 there to Pompey. And I think for the Lincoln game, I think it's going to be entertaining. But I can see us winning 4-0.
There we go. 4-0 written over it. Got to be done in it, especially when Jake is here. Barn, what we saying?
Sorry, Jake.
Barnsley, I'm going to go 1-1. I fancy us winning, but I can't see us losing either. I think we'll be too strong. Our defence looks solid. Lincoln, 4-1. And Rico Hackett will score for them with a consolation goal.
Barney, yeah? He's going to score 3. I thought so. Yeah.
All right, you can have 4-3 if you want. Yeah, 4-3.
Go on in, Jakey boy.
What, Barnsley?
Yeah, go on. You're
really not. I might as well leave after I've said this because I might get shot when I come to Pompey next week. I'm going to go, and I love you, Tom. I'm going to go Barnsley 2, Pompey 1. And then I'm going to go Pompey 1, Lincoln 1.
Okay, no shots there, mate. No shots there. No shots being taken. I'm taking him round the Great Portsea Island on Friday night as well. Gonna give him a little tour of Pompey. So if you do see him and you want to, give him some abuse for his score prediction, then feel free. Dill's going for a 2-1 win versus Barnsley, 4-0 versus Lincoln, 1-1 and then 2-0, 1-1 and 2-0 on this one as well. 1-1, 3-2. We had a 3-2 a little while ago, didn't we, Jakey boy? 0-2 Barnsley, 2-0 Lincoln from Dave Birch. Pompey and Mush is saying 3-1 Tuesday, 3-0 Saturday. There we go. Weekend of the 8th of October. Glyn's up for a beer, Gaz. We'll let you get that organised. Steamer said 2-2 on Tuesday and then 4-0 next Saturday. 2-0 win to Pompey. Logan saying Barnsley 0-1. Bishop 4-0. There we go. It's funny we're saying 4-0, Jake. I think 4-0 might take us, carry us away a little bit, but we'll go with that. Lots of I'm seeing a trend of draw Tuesday and win Saturday. So maybe that's what we go with the general consensus. Thank you, everybody. As you can hear, my voice is very slowly going. So that's probably best we left it there. Gazza, it's been a pleasure as always, mate. Thank you for your company. Congratulations yesterday. Cannot wait to see you soon, mate.
Yep. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Barn, been a pleasure. See you Tuesday, my son.
See you next Tuesday, mate.
Oh, that's not very kind. No need for that.
Sorry.
Jakey boy's got to shoot off. I'll see you in an hour or so, mate.
Yeah, can't bloody wait.
Looking forward to it. Thanks you for joining us as well. This has been 4-0 Sunday Live, and we'll see you bright and early Wednesday morning for 4-0 Written All Over It when it returns for our visit to Oakwell. For now, keep the faith, and as always, thanks for watching. Play at Pompey. Here we go, up the Imps. It's coming. There it is.
Go on.